Alright, guys. So, the US House of Representatives is taking action right now. Are they trying to get rent prices down? Are they getting us universal health care? Or addressing climate change? Or literally anything useful to the American people? No. Shockingly, today, the US House decided to spend their time passing a resolution that condemns the chant, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." It was an overwhelming vote, guys. Motion to define the pro-Palestinian slogan as anti-Semitic passes in a vote of 377 to 44. 34 of the no votes were Democrats, and one Republican voted against it. Guys, we are 6 months in to a genocide in Gaza that our government is fully complicit in. We are sending the weapons to Israel that they are using to drop on the heads of innocent children. 15,000 so far. They have obliterated the Gaza Strip to the point where large portions of it, if not almost the entirety of it, is essentially uninhabitable. We have people who are starving to death. Israel has bombed churches, mosques, schools, UN shelters, refugee camps, hospitals, literally everything you could possibly imagine. They have massacred people who were desperately trying to go and receive aid. They have massacred aid workers, journalists, everybody that you could possibly imagine. And this is what our government is doing. Continuing to send them weapons in violation of international law, yes, arguably, but also in violation of US law. Now keep in mind, this is the same Congress that tried to slip in a provision in one of their recent legislative proposals explicitly saying that they did not want to do an investigation in terms of whether or not Israel is in violation of international law. This is the same Congress that just a couple of months ago, I believe that this was before October 7th actually, they passed a piece of legislation where the entirety of it was basically just to say Israel is not racist. Israel is not an apartheid state. I mean, I really do hope that the historical record will reflect the insanity of the moment that we are currently living in, where the US government is arming and funding a genocide, where the Israeli government is actively expanding their totally illegal settlements into the West Bank. Over the last week or so, we've had literal pogroms that have taken place where settlers, backed up by the IDF, have gone around burning the homes and cars of Palestinians in the West Bank. And amidst all of this, they are passing motions to condemn pro-Palestinian slogans. They are trying to police the language of the American people. I don't even know if this is anything that's ever been done before. I mean, I didn't take the time to go and look it up, but how common is this? That the US government, the House of Representatives, passes a resolution just to condemn a slogan. I've never heard of this ever happening before. This is the extent, these are the lengths that we will go to bow down to Israel, to do whatever it takes in order to continue defending and justifying the indefensible and the unjustifiable. I mean, Jesus Christ. Now, to state the obvious, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, regardless of what dishonest hacks in our government and media say, is not an anti-Semitic slogan. It is not, in fact, calling for the elimination of Jews, or even in most people's circumstances, it's not even calling for the elimination of Israel as a state, as a state apparatus. It's calling for Palestinians to be free. You would think that might be clear in the name. In the words that are chosen as a part of the slogan. You would have thought maybe that would be clear to people. I mean, this is the same slogan that the only Palestinian American member of the House of Representatives was censured for using, Rashida Tlaib. They censured her for using this slogan, even after she had already explained a million times over, no, of course, this is not a genocidal chant against Jewish people. This is a call for liberation. It's a call to an end of the illegal occupation and apartheid and ethnic cleansing, and now a genocide in Gaza. That's what the phrase means to a vast majority of people who are using it. And our government is saying, no, 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 you guys are all actually anti-Semitic. Whew. Now, another point that needs to be made here is that mysteriously, the House doesn't have anything to say about this fact. So here from Vox, like Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's own right-wing Likud party, the party that's currently in power right now in Israel, used a version of the slogan "From the River to the Sea" in its platform. That platform, issued in 1977 during the height of Palestinian armed resistance, denied any possibility of a two-state solution and called for only Israeli sovereignty between the sea and the Jordan River. So, between the river and the sea, we will have Israeli sovereignty, I guess is the fucked up Israeli version of this slogan. This is back in 1977, decades ago. This was in their official party platform. And to add on top of that, you may say, okay, when some, Hamas militant who happens to be anti-Semitic uses this slogan, maybe some people who use the slogan are talking about wiping out Israel, or they have anti-Semitic intentions or tendencies or whatever the case may be. Maybe in some circumstances that may be the case. Again, overwhelmingly, that's not what people mean by this phrase. But it's important to point out that the only entity in this equation that actually has the power to ethnically cleanse the other group from the river to the sea is the government of Israel. And they are actively doing this as we speak. We have seen, just last month or so, I covered the story. When Antony Blinken was visiting Israel, they decided to approve, because of Bezalel Smotrich's insane plans, the largest annexation of Palestinian land in the West Bank. They are approving settlements at a record pace right now. This is not to go and target Hamas. This is because it is a settler colonial project, which is going to come up here in a second. But I just can't get over how disgusting this is. That this is what our government is doing. And completely ignoring not only the genocidal slogans or the genocidal rhetoric from Israel and their government officials that they've been saying for the last 6 months straight, but their actions as well. 15,000 children murdered in the last 6 months. And they have nothing to say about that. The only thing they have to say about that is, let's send them more weapons. Let's give them billions of American taxpayer dollars. That's what they have to say to Israel murdering 15,000 children in 6 months. But we have to go out of our way to condemn Palestinian slogans that are aspirational towards an end of apartheid, an end of occupation, an end of ethnic cleansing. Okay, so I also want to mention this. Pro-Palestinian valedictorian speaks out after USC cancels her speech. So this is insane, guys. The University of Southern California, their valedictorian, whose planned graduation speech was canceled due to what the school referred to as safety concerns, told CBS News that she feels betrayed by the academic institution. So first off, I just want to address this up top. They say she was canceled not for her political views, which happened to be anti-Israel, but that her speech was canceled over safety concerns. They go on in this article, towards the bottom, there was no evidence that was provided that there were any sort of safety concerns. What does that actually even mean in this circumstance? Do you mean the safety of people to, not be offended by something she may have said in the speech? They say, oh, this isn't a free speech issue. It's a safety issue. What is the safety issue? What's the safety issue? Was there a bomb threat? Somebody was threatening to bomb the speech if she got up there and gave it? They don't even elaborate on that. It's clearly targeting her because of her political views, but they say Asna Tabassum, hope I'm pronouncing that correct, majored in biomedical engineering, and here's the kicker, has a minor in resistance to genocide. Has a minor, she's a valedictorian, has a minor in resistance to genocide. And they're preventing her from giving this speech because maybe she would have used that opportunity to call out a current genocide. The irony of that is totally absurd, right? Somebody who's minored in a course that your university is offering called Resistance to Genocide is now prevented from speaking out against a genocide. Amazing. So this is an interdisciplinary series of courses that researches the causes, results, and representations of attempted genocide, as well as the resistance to genocidal mass violence. So critics said that she shared social media posts that promoted anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist rhetoric. Okay, first off, which one is it? Because I'm not having this conflation of anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. Okay, they're not the same thing. The state of Israel does not equal the Jewish people. When we criticize Israel, we're not criticizing Judaism as a religion, as an ethnicity, none of that. They are completely separate things. So which one is it? They say it highlighted a link to her public Instagram profile to a website that refers to Zionism. Okay, again, notice not Judaism, Zionism. A movement that calls for the development and protection of a Jewish state as a racist, settler, colonial ideology. Okay, guys, I mean, listen, she goes on down here. She says, I'm not apologizing for the link. What I'm saying is that I'm committed to human rights, and I'm committed to human rights for all people. Okay? Seems pretty clear exactly what her views are here. I don't know what the link is. I don't know what the website is. But I'm just going to address this real quick. Racist, settler, colonial ideology. Guys, the early Zionists called themselves settlers. Okay? This is not controversial. It's even more insane to reference racist, settler, colonial ideology as being some wild, out there, unfair label for Zionism. Because again, this is not something that happened far off hundreds of thousands of years in the past or whatever. This is something that is happening right now. Right now. Pogroms last week. Ongoing expanded illegal settlements into Palestinian land, violently expelling Palestinians from their land, not just in Gaza, although that is happening in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. What exactly would you call that? Pogroms against a specific ethnic group and an expanding illegal settlement project into their land. What exactly do you call that, other than a racist, settler, colonial ideology? I mean, it just blows my mind that we're still having the same fucking conversation over and over and over again, when it's explicitly clear exactly what the government of Israel's goals are. They're doing it in front of us right now in real time. Where's the controversy? I mean, seriously. Now, I'm not going to get into the rest of this. I don't want to make this a super long video, and I'm limited on time right now. But I will link this down below. I do want to mention this. At Columbia University, there was what appears to be, or what was alleged to be, a chemical attack that happened months ago. Okay, now it comes out that apparently the two people who were alleged to have committed this attack on students who were protesting for a ceasefire were students of Columbia University and also former IDF soldiers. You had essentially what looks like a chemical attack at an American university against ceasefire protesters, pro-Palestine protesters. Does our government have hearings about this? Do they call out the anti-Palestinian racism and violence that's happening on college campuses? No, they do the opposite of that. Because right now, the president of Columbia University is testifying in front of Congress about this massive wave of anti-Semitism. I mean, this is like a McCarthyite, era witch hunt that's going on right now. It's like Red Scare 3.0 or whatever we're at right now. I mean, they go on here in the CNN article. They say, days after a December hearing, Columbia issued a statement saying, calls for genocide against the Jewish community or any other group are abhorrent, inconsistent with our values, and against our rules. So here's a challenge for anybody out there. Show me an example, if you have a video, that's great, of an actual genocidal statement or chant from a college campus that you have seen. Not one from some neo-Nazi, but one from a leftist or one from a pro-Palestine protest that's happening, where it's actually genocidal. Not from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Not any of the other bullshit ones that are labeled as genocidal, okay? Actually calling to genocide the Jews. Give me an example. I haven't seen a single one over the last 6 months. Not a single one. And in the meantime, again, I've seen countless genocidal statements and actions from the Israeli government. And I'm not trying to say that there's no anti-Semitism problem. There is. It vastly disproportionately comes from right-wing neo-Nazis here in the United States. So anti-Semitism is a real thing. But when you say that phrases like from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, are anti-Semitism, when you say that anybody who wants a ceasefire is anti-Semitic, or anybody who's critical of Zionism is anti-Semitic, or criticizes the Israeli government, you are downplaying anti-Semitism. You are making it incredibly difficult for people to understand and identify what anti-Semitism is and therefore to fight against it. Okay? People calling for a ceasefire right now are not fucking anti-Semites. Many of the people leading these ceasefire protests are Jewish themselves, which is one of the great ironies because, and this obviously isn't just a US problem, over in Germany, and this is a great interview, highly recommend you guys go and watch it, with Owen Jones here, and this guy Udi Raz, who is a Jewish German who was just arrested for protesting for a ceasefire. So this has been happening in many different countries around the world, disproportionately Western governments, obviously. But like in Germany, think about the irony of that. The people who did the Holocaust, the people who did one of the more recent genocides, are now going around and arresting Jewish Germans because they're protesting against another genocide that Germany is complicit in right now. I mean, it doesn't get more historically ironic than that. And also terrifying. Terrifying. So I'll leave you guys off with that. Again, check the description if you want to go watch any of those videos that I mentioned. But I'm struggling to figure out what to even say at this point. It's just so dark and bleak and infuriating that this is the country that we live in. That our government is more concerned with slogans they don't like than they are of an actual genocide and our complicity in that genocide.
Politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying